Hello, everyone. I hope you can hear me well. Welcome to our today's webinar, where we're going to be talking about how to automate approvals with no code. I'm very happy to see you all today. My name is Rosita. I'm a product marketing manager at Zenphi. And before we begin, I just wanted to quickly walk you through a few housekeeping items. So, first of all, this session is being recorded and you will receive a recording within a couple of days after the webinar. And secondly, feel free to ask questions in the Q&A section that you can find at the bottom of your screen. We'll be answering your questions as we go, and we'll also dedicate some time to your questions at the end of the webinar. And for those of you who are new to the platform, Zenphi is a no-code process automation built specifically for Google Workspace users, and it enables you to automate processes for IT, operations, HR, finance, sales, and everything in between with just a few drag and drops. Okay, so approval workflows play a crucial role in various day-to-day processes across different departments. So it doesn't really matter whether you want to streamline your HR, finance, IT, or other processes. It's very likely that there are some approval workflows included. So let's look at some of the most popular use cases we've seen among Zenphi customers. So first of all, the big part of all of those approval workflows are document approvals. So it can be anything from invoices, purchase orders, work orders, sales quotes. So basically any document that needs to be reviewed before processed. And the second group would be approval workflows within user management. So for example, when you're automating IT requests for employee onboarding or offboarding, leave requests, expense reimbursement, all of those processes include approval workflows. Sometimes there are simple approvals, sometimes it can be multi-layer approvals where you need to follow a hierarchy really strictly. But essentially, those are the workflows that bring the most benefits, and we're going to be reviewing those workflows today. And I think if you ever been involved in a manual approval flow, whether as the requester or the approver, you know at firsthand how painful and inefficient it can be. And approvals often take forever to get done. It's not always clear where the process got stuck, and significant amount of time and manpower are invested in identifying the point of delay or ensuring that the procedure was followed correctly. And process automation addresses all of these challenges, and it speeds up the approval process. It follows the procedure precisely every single time, and all the requests are logged, which makes the process transparent and compliant. So it's a massive win for all the parties involved. So today we'll start with automating a very simple and straightforward approval workflow, and then we'll gradually make it to the more complex ones, adding more advanced features to show you the capabilities and functionality that then you can use to automate your unique process. And before diving into the automation process within the builder itself, we usually recommend creating a flowchart like this. So if we look at this simple approval workflow, it starts with the approval request itself. and that's going to be the trigger for a process. It can be anything from Google Form submission, or it can be email arrival, or it can be file upload to a specific Google Drive folder. Then once we receive the approval request, we assign a task to the approver. And depending on the outcome of this approval request, so for example, it can be rejected or it can be approved, then we log the status of this request and we can add the further actions. So now let me quickly open Zenphi Automation Builder to show you how it will work. So right now we are inside Zenphi account, and that's how your Zenphi space will look like. Here you will have all of the tools needed to successfully automating processes. So here in this section we have flows. These are automated workflows that we're going to be building by dragging and dropping triggers and actions. And here we have tables. And in this specific table, we will store our approval request statuses. So to create a new flow, you will click here, and I will open the flow that I created earlier. I will go to edit the flow. So that's how your flow designer will look like. So as you can see, it's pretty simple. Here's our automated workflow. From the left side, you'll see the actions that you can drag and drop to your workflow. So like, for example, we have Google Drive actions, Gmail actions, many third-party integrations as well. And now let's review our workflow. So it starts with the trigger. As I mentioned earlier, it can be anything like Google Form submission or email arrival, but for this example, we'll use Google Drive. And to set this trigger up, we just open the trigger, set the connection with your Google Workspace account, and by clicking here on the Google Drive icon, you will choose the specific Google Drive folder that you want to be monitored for new files. That will initiate the process execution. So once the trigger is set, we'll add assign task action. And this action is the perfect solution for simple approval workflows like this. So let's click on this gear icon to see how it's set up inside. So first of all, we will specify the task name, the task description, what the approver should do. Then the next section would be identifying the possible outcomes. So here we have indicated two possible options, so the approver can mark this request as approved or rejected, and by clicking here you will add any other options that you would like to. And as far as this task will be sent to the approver through email, the next section would be dedicated to setting up this email. So we can specify the sender display name. By default, it's going to be Zenphi tasks. Then we need to indicate assignee's email. So you can just type the email here. Or for example, you can add the action to find the specific assignee in Google Directory or Google Sheets, wherever you store your contacts. And also we can use the data from the previous steps of our workflow. So just for this demonstration, I'm going to be taking the owner of this file that was uploaded to Google Drive folder. Then we're specifying the email subject. Again, we're using the token picker. Then we're crafting the email right here. And also, one of the greatest features in this assign task action is the ability to interact with the approver. So for example, we have the expiry date. So when you creating approval workflow, it's really important to have a due date. So your approval request won't get stuck. And here we can specify that, for example, after 7 days, this request would be expired. And if it is, you can be notified, or you can create any logic that you want to work on this expired request. And also, we have the option to speed up this approval workflow by enabling the reminder. So if we click here, we can set the number of reminders that we want to send and the period of time when we want to send those reminders. For example, every 1 day, or like every 12 hours. For this demonstration, we will turn this off. The next action we want to have here is once we receive the response from the approver, we want to create a record in the table and log the information about this request. So let me quickly show you the table. Here it is. So it's a pretty simple one. So I have just 5 columns with the data that I'm interested in those specific requests. So it's going to be document title, status, link to this document, and request time and response time. By clicking here, you can add as many other columns as you need. And let's go back to the flow. So to add the information about the request to the table, I will use create record action. Here I will select the table within the space, and I will also select the columns that I need to fill in from the drop down. And here again, by using token picker, I will map out the data for all of those columns. So I'm going to be taking document title from the Google Drive folder. So I will click on file name. Then the status I will take from the assign task action, and I will choose the outcome. So here in this list, you will see all of the output data that is available for us from the assign task action. Then I will take the link from the Google Drive trigger. So as you can see, it can be download link, but we're interested in this one. I will take the request time from the trigger as well. So I will just select the created time, and I will take the response time from the assign task action. So once we logged the data about the request, then we will create 2 branches according to the outcome of the task. For this, we will use if condition. So here we will specify that when the outcome of the task is equal to approved, then we will go and move the item from the initial folder to the folder that I've created earlier, where we will store only approved documents. With the token picker, we're specifying the file from the trigger. And also here we can indicate the item name to make it unique and locatable in the future as well. And in the rejection branch, we can also add the actions according to our process logic. For example, we can send the email back to the requester with some instructions, for example. Okay, right now, let's go and test this workflow. To do this, we will click on Save and on the test run. I will choose Select a file to start, and I already have one file inside the folder that is specified in the trigger, and I will be using this. From the left side in the test session, we will be able to see how this workflow goes. So we see that it went and assigned a task. Okay, and we see that we received the email from the Zenphi tasks. And here we have all of the information and the link to this document, and we can approve or reject. So let's open the file. Okay, we see that this is an invoice. Looks good. So let's click on approved. And as we return back to Zenphi, we see that the workflow is already completed. So it went and created a record in the table, and as far as it was approved, it moved the item to the appropriate folder. So let's go and check that. First of all, let's see the record in the table. Okay, we see that it went and logged the information about this request. We see that this document is correct. We also can check that the item name right now has the unique identifier. And if we go to our approval request folder, we see that it's empty. And if we go to approved folder, we will find this document. So just like that, we have created a very simple approval workflow. And now let's go back to Zenphi and build something more complex. Okay, now let's say that we need to design the approval workflow with two-layer approval. So once the manager approves the document through assign task action, it should go to the director's level. And let's say that director should be able to leave some notes to the decision and also leave a signature. And for that, we'll need to use another action called request data. So if assign action is great for simple approvals with predefined options, request data action gives you more flexibility and allows the approver to leave more data. And as we will be making some changes to the flow, you'll see how easy and fast it is. So now to the true branch after if condition action, we will add another layer of approval. So I will take the action from the from another flow that I just copied, but you can find the request data action just by searching these in the action list. So here it is. And let's open the settings. So request data action works with the built-in Zenphi form builder. So this form is very powerful because you can create it using all of those tokens that were used in the previous steps of the workflow. So for example, here in the title, we can use the unique request identifier that we took from the create record action. We can also create some sections that are read-only. So here we provide the approver with the information about where they can take this document to view it. Again, we take it from the Google Drive trigger. Here we can also specify the possible outcomes with the drop-down question type. We can also add dynamic options. We can make this question read-only if needed. We can make this question mandatory or not. And there are many useful options available too. So here we will ask the approver to leave some notes. And also here we will add the signature question type where they can sign the approval request, and it's going to be stored in the table. So if needed, we can also make this form even more advanced by adding a redirect URL or require authentication, but for this example we will leave it as it is. And the next thing, we will specify the recipient of this request data action. Again, we'll take it from the Google Drive trigger. In the request data action, we can also choose when we can consider this task completed. So it can be the first person respond, or everyone responds, or the specified number of people respond. So in the recipient, you can indicate multiple approvers, which is very convenient. And here, just like in the assign task action, we can add reminders or expiry dates. And here we will set up the email that will notify the approver about this request. And here we will take the email from request data action. And here we should specify the form URL so approver can go and submit the form. And we will use this output data. Okay, let's click on save. And now we need to add some more columns to the table so we can log all these information from the director's level of approval. So let's go to the table and add notes. So it's going to be a long text type. And signature, and it will be in the attachment format. Okay, great, and let's go back to the flow. And the last step here would be changing how we log the data. So let's move the create record to the beginning of the workflow. So what we want to achieve here is whenever a new approval request added to the Google Drive folder, we want to immediately create a record to this approval request and specify the status as in progress. And we'll delete the response time as far as we don't know it yet. And everything else looks good. And once we have the approval or rejection from the manager through assign task action, we want to go and update the record that we have just created in the table and update the status. So for that, we will use update record action. So we choose the same table. Here we choosing the record ID of create record action. And for the status, we want a new one. And we want to use the outcome of the assigned task action and add by manager. So it can be approved by manager or rejected by manager. And we want to do the same thing after we have received the outcome for our director's approval. So we'll just copy this action and place it over there. And now we will use the output data from the director's approval action. So we'll use outcome and specify that it's by director. Okay, cool. And here we'll also need to add some new columns, which are notes and signature. So for the notes, we will go again to request data action output. So here are the notes and here are the signature. Okay, looks good. Now let's save this and make a test. Okay, we see that it went and created a record and assigned task. So let's go to the table and check. Okay, as you can see now the status is in progress. And let's quickly give a response. Okay, we click on approved. So now if we refresh the data, we'll see that the status now is approved by manager. And it means that it went to the director's approval. Okay, we see that the director also received a task, and we see that right now this is a form. So here we can add the outcome. We can also include some notes and format them if needed, and leave the signature. Okay, now let's go back to Zenphi table to check how approval request is logged. Okay, we can see that now our approval request has the status as approved by director, and we have all the information that we wanted to log as well as the signature. Okay, so now I wanted to quickly walk you through one real example of the workflow that's been automated at Zenphi. Because in real business processes, the logic is much more complex, and most of the time the approval workflow is just a part of a larger process. So here's one interesting example. So the process starts with form submission, and then based on the data from that form, Zenphi goes and generates a new document with a predefined template. Then it's important to make sure that the newly generated document is shared with the stakeholders appropriately. So further, we will have a two-layer approval. These documents should be approved by director and then by manager. And here we want to make sure that we will share this document in Google Drive with the director, and we want the director to be able to edit the document. But for manager, we want them only be able to make comments. So once it's shared, we will go and send the document to director, and if it's approved, it goes to the manager's level. And if not, we want to send the document back to the initiator and request some data. And once they provide the data, it will go back to director. So it's important to have a back and forth loop here. So once it's approved by the manager, it will go and generate a PDF file with the final document and store it in the Google Drive folder with a dedicated name. But if it's not approved, it will go back to the director with some notes, and the director will see if they want to send it back to the initiator or they want to approve it and again add some notes. Here we also want to have the back and forth communication. So now let's open the Zenphi flow and see how it's created there. And here's how it will be built within Zenphi. So as you can see, it starts with the Google form. And here we can see all the questions that included in this form. It's a pretty simple one. Then we use current date time action to create a special folder that will be dedicated to this specific date. We can also specify the parent folder ID and check if this folder already exists, so it will go and save the file in the already created folder. Then we will use generate document using template action. We will put the unique data for each document in the placeholders. And when we select this specific template from the Google Drive folder, we will click on load placeholders, and it will go and take all of the placeholders we have in that Google Doc. And then with the token picker that we already familiar with, we will put the data from the Google form submission. Here we will also specify the destination folder ID, and we can create a new document file name. So the next step would be sharing this document with approvers. So for that, we will use share item action. And here for the director, we want them to be editors. And that's why here we will choose the writer as a role. Also here we will specify that this is a user. We will take their email address right from the Google form. But we can also use group or domain if needed. And the same goes for the manager, but instead of the writer, we will use commenter. And to the most interesting part, approval loop. So here we will have 3 branches. So the one for director, for manager, and for the initiator. And we're creating these branches using a very powerful state machine action that will allow us to create those back and forth communication, transferring the nodes, and everything that we discussed when we were reviewing the flowchart. So how it works here. So initially we go to the director's level, right? So here's our director branch, and at the beginning, the document will go to this initial director's approval. Here we have um, special actions that will generate HTML files that we will be able to send to the director. So it's going to be a unique email that can be customized to your company. And if director approved the document, then it will be sent to manager using a change state action. So we're specifying that we use state machine action and we go to the manager. But if it's rejected, then it will go and send it back to the initiator. And let's see the initiator branch. So it looks the same as in the director. We use the same familiar request data action. And here we're requesting some data, and in this form the initiator will see the comments that director has left. And once they submit the form, it will go and send it back to director. And it will go back and forth until director approves, and it will go to the manager. And in the manager branch, we have the same structure. And here, if manager approves, it will go and export the PDF and send it by email to the appropriate parties. Or if it's not approved by manager, it will go back to director. And this time, it will go to this part, which is for the clinical director approval. And once it's approved on this side, it will go back to manager, and if not, it will go back to initiator. So as you can see, with this powerful state machine action, you can create really complex and unique, customized to your business logic approval workflows. And you can easily change these workflows if your business requirements have changed as well. Okay, with that, let's open up our Q&A session. Please feel free to post your questions to the Q&A chat that is located at the bottom of your screen. And while you do that, I will go and check the questions that we received earlier. Okay, so I'm gonna read through one of the questions that we received within the registration form to this webinar. So it's from IT manager, and so the question is, I'm looking at streamlining our onboarding processes. Some mechanism whereby we can automatically send out tasks and approval requests to relevant stakeholders would be really helpful in reducing admin overhead of these tasks. Thank you so much for sharing what you're looking for. Yes, the employee onboarding process is quite popular use case, and actually we have a special template for it that I can show you. And I'm sure that it will be helpful in your automation efforts. So this particular template lives within the flows. So if previously we were viewing the space templates, this one is located when you create a new flow. So if you click here and switch to start with template, and you will search for onboarding, here you will find this template. Then you will just need to set up some connections. It will be launched, but I will find the flow that I already created somewhere before. That's how this workflow looks like. It starts with the Google Form submission. So, for example, HR manager can submit this form, and it has all the questions related to this new employee. Then, once the form is submitted, Zenphi will go and find the hiring manager for this employee using lookup user information from Google directory. And once it's found, it will go and assign a task and with all of the employee's information. And when it's approved by the hiring manager, it will go and generate offer letter with the document, generate document using template action that we already familiar with. Then we can also use DocuSign action to request the signature, and then the flow goes to the next branch. So if it's signed by employee, it will go and create a special Google Drive folder for this employee, save the first document, which is offer letter, and then process the final setup. We will go and create the user in Google directory. We will also assign task to IT to order laptop. Then we setting up meetings with this new employee, sending welcome email. So if it's not signed, we will go and notify the HR. And if it's not approved by the hiring manager, we will send the rejection email, and we can build it up further according to our business requirements. But as you can see, this workflow is pretty straightforward, but it saves massive amount of time to HR, to IT. It automatically processes many small tasks that can be forgotten. So yeah, I highly recommend you to check this template out and test it, and I'm sure yeah, you will find it useful. Okay, let me check if we have any other questions in the chat. Okay, I can see a question in the Q&A chat, and so can you tell us a little bit more about dashboards? Sure. Let me switch to Zenphi. And let me find a space where we have some of the dashboards set up. Okay, so this is a space template that is called NDA agreement. So you can check that out as well. And as you can see here, we have the table with all the NDA requests. And here we have such information as signature duration, requester, company name, time, and the status. And based on that information, we can create dashboards with some of the visual charts with the statistics that we're interested in. And let me quickly show you what we have here. So for example, here we can visualize the request by status, We can showcase the total number of claims. We can create the list of those. And if we click on declined, for example, you see that in the list we'll see only the declined requests. So here we can also display our requests in the Kanban view. We can track our KPIs. So for example, what is the signing duration? We can leave some instructions in the doc format. And let me quickly show you how they're created. So if we click here, we can edit those charts. And by clicking here, we can add new charts. As you can see, we have a variation of them. So it can be pie chart, metric, Kanban, calendar, list, series chart, or just a web page. And here, if we click on editing the chart, we see that it's created pretty easily. We just need to specify the data source, which is going to be the table. Then we indicate the metric that we're interested in. So we just need to have the amount of emails. Then we can customize the title. And yeah, that's pretty much it. We click on save and we have the total number of claims. The same goes for the pie chart, for example. Here we have the data source, then we specifying what the metric that we use for the slices, that we're interested in top values in here. So yeah, essentially dashboards are connected to tables and allow you to create charts with the insights from your processes, and then you can share those insights with your teammates, with the management. So it's a really powerful and great tool for your process audits, process insights, and process improvement. Okay, I can see some more questions coming into the chat, but unfortunately our webinar time has come to an end. So yeah, thank you so much for joining us today. I hope that this webinar was helpful, and that with this knowledge you will be able to automate your processes yourself. And if you have any further questions or you need our help, we will be more than happy to assist you. Just write us at success@zenphi.com and we'll be there for you. Okay, with that, again, thank you so much for joining the webinar today, and have a great day ahead. See you soon. Bye.